Anyway, also there's a whole segment of things of the wood mill. In the story, the wood mill was called Havenwood, but in real life, the wood mill is actually called Hardwood. I changed it to Havenwood, and it's a wood mill. They just do textile. Well, they do wood. They do wood. So they're going to do popsicle sticks, tongue depressors, food products, and medical. So think of medical stuff. Tongue depressors is one thing. It's a medical thing. Ear swab things that are made out of wood. All kinds of stuff. Stuff for CSI, you know, wood stuff. It's good for the blood. Like you can use wood and blood. They work together. But it's hard. It's hard work because you get splinters in your hand. You got to handle wood all day, and you're inspecting the wood. I was in charge of inspecting the wood and loading the tongue depressors into boxes all day long for 12 hours a day sometimes. I got tinnitus from it, or tinnitus. It's what William Shatner had. It's a ringing in the ear. He gets that too. It's very painful. He gets a slight version of it. I would not recommend it for anybody. I've been able to heal some of it since I've been back. It has to be very, very quiet for me to even hear the tinnitus now. It's been a while. I was able to train myself. Looks like maybe this one. Anyway, it's a great story. All right, that's good.
She didn't get me, did she? There, see if I can hear it in the
Please subscribe show. YouTube Cole Spivey.
Yeah, man. That one's great. That's really cool. These are really nice right here. All of this stuff right here. It's brand new. It's right off this right here. Terabella. This one's right by the gate though, right here. I've seen this one before. Look at this right here. All these houses have history. Oh crap, they open from the inside. I don't really like that. That's okay though. Maybe they can fix it. Yeah, for some reason they open from the inside too, but that's a fountain right there. It's right off Dove and Terabella. They're really nice. This is really pretty too. They got good security. Authority figures out here, pretty on task. Everything's run pretty tight ship. It's right for Dove, and it's not too far from where my dad used to live too. Actually, right down the road from where my dad lived. He was in that Ron Burgundy film. He played one of the Ron Burgundy's friends. A younger guy. Seinfeld talks about him a lot. He's I'm just trying to think one good movie. That Ant-Man, of course, is Marvel or something like that. He was an Ant-Man. It's kind of thin for that one. Of course, Escape from Maine, he'd have to lose quite a bit of weight. Probably gonna be about, let's say about 150. I don't know his height though. I'd have to know his height to see the weight that it would, for Escape from Maine. But I'd probably say pretty skinny. There's some footage of me. I was a pretty skinny guy at the time. I'd lost a lot of weight because I just came back from a divorce and I was leaving Fort Worth, and I moved to Maine. So I'd do a lot of jogging in the summertime before I left, things like that. What is that dude's name? Yeah. I just said his name in my head. Still can't think of the name, though. Yeah, got it. Paul Rudd. Yeah, I think Paul Rudd would be good. He's funny. He's charming. All the women like him. He'd be a great person to play the writer. And I've seen him play a writer in another movie, too, that was pretty cool. He didn't look like the author, though. Of course, we're spitting images. We could probably play almost twins. I don't have that little button nose that he has, but we're similar. At least when I was younger, people were like, you remind me of Paul Rudd. You look like Paul Rudd, blah, blah. Then I'd get Ethan Hawke, too. I got Ethan Hawke a lot, too, so that's always a backup. We could probably audition both of them, Ethan Hawke, Paul Rudd. I'm respectful of Ethan Hawke. I seen him live. I saw him interviewed at the Actors Studio, and he did write quite a bit. He's a writer too. He's actually a real author. He is a little rougher than he's more on the Sam Shepard-y side rather than the All-American. So we'd have to have like a discussion. Do we want to go Ethan Hawke or Paul Rudd? Ethan Hawke, Paul Rudd. Probably that would probably be it. That's what we were talking about. But one thing I want to say about Ethan Hawke is, though, he got dissed out of Boondock Saints because the director absolutely hated him, which I thought was wrong. I respect Ethan Hawke. I'm a big fan of First Reformed, but probably more expensive. Meaning he may cost more. But he's interesting, and we both have a very common. Now remember, when I went to Escape from Maine, I took a lot of my Sam Shepard books with me. So they actually had that with, I was a very big fan of Sam Shepard. A lot of actors and writery types, the type that do that kind of stuff they kind of follow the footsteps of Sam Shepard. But I'm not necessarily saying that's what this movie's about. Escape from Maine is more about dealing with a new location in the wintertime, trying to get back to the South, which just happens to people too. They throw everything away and they go run off somewhere. And it either works out or it doesn't, The problem is when they get homesick and they want to come back. I remember I wrote plays when I was there, like tons of poetry. I wrote like a book, So it's a lot about writing, and that's a hard thing. I was just seeing an interview, or I was just seeing a little documentary on YouTube about the whole thing. And it's hard to make writing entertaining, because that's the whole thing about The Shining is Jack Torrance was a writer. So how are you going to make these things entertaining? How do you do these things? Also, you got movies like Fear and Loathing, which is about a writer, and that's highly entertaining. And that's Terry Gilliam. This is about a writer. The story's about an author, a writer, or self-published author. It could be a self-published author. That publishes on fan fiction and fiction press. Think of this. If you had to choose between Ethan Hawke or Paul Rudd in a movie, which one would you choose? It's tough. Ethan Hawke is obviously more East Coast, but he's from Texas, from the South. That's a big win, because I'm from Texas, too. He's from the Houston area. I'm from the Fort Worth area. Now, Paul Rudd, I would just say he's kind of a West Coast California feel. I don't really know where he's from, though. I have to do research on it. But Ethan Hawke at least has that Texas, connection. It's a hard one. Because they both could probably pull off the role. In a way, I probably want to get both of them, because he writes about another character. Cole Spivey, I write about Jonah Samuel. So one could play me, Cole Spivey. The other one could play Jonah Samuel III, which would probably be Paul Rudd, maybe. So you use both of them. That might work because that is true. I wrote about both of them. So as he's writing, you see what he's writing, and it's like the story's a little bit different because he goes around and changes everybody's names. If I could get the real names on everybody, it'd be great. Anyway, how you would deal with it is you figured it out. Like if you're talking about Paul Rudd or Ethan Hawke, is one of them would be playing the actual me. The other one would be playing the character that I tried to create in the novel. This has been done, I think, a few times. So you have me trying to do this thing, and then you see the character that is being, created. So it switches. Maybe the color code of the film changes and every aspect of it, and you see the kind of novelist kind of creation, which would be the Paul Rudd character, which would be Samuel, or Jonah Samuel Camden III. And then it would be the actual writer. I like that. I like to talk about these things too. I don't think the script reigns over everything, but I think that you can even use improv kind of thing. Oh, this place is super cool right here. You can see it right here. Oh, this place is awesome, dude. If you ever want to take anyone to impress anybody, you got these little tables right here. Hi, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? I'm just kind of looking at the paintings. This is a lot. This is amazing. You even have these like little things right here. Oh, this is great. Little cards right here. That's for like $300. What in the world? Oh my gosh. I mean, it goes on and on and on. This is, oh no, it doesn't. It's a mirror. Never mind. But it was like, what in the world is this? This is amazing too, right here. Oh. Yeah, it's like on every single wall. Similar kind of paintings, though. I'm thinking that maybe it's the same type of artist.
Thank you.
So there is the fundamentals of caring that Rob Lowe did, directed by Rob Burnett. Amazing. Pretty good one. I'd highly recommend it. I'll tell you the year in a minute. So it was a 2016 film. It is very good. You should see it. It's Rob Lowe's like one of his best work, but it's called The Fundamentals of Caring. It's from an author that actually he had to learn how to take care of people that are seriously handicapped. It's amazing. It's amazing. Everything about that film is great. There's something to do with like a large well, a large deep well that's goes miles underground, and he takes this character in a wheelchair to go see it and stuff like that. It really kind of makes you take a second look at things, you know. It's like a bee. Okay, some kind of bee or something, or wasp, something similar. You build it, and they will come. They're actually all getting ready to go to a play that I wrote in Roanoke. It's a sold-out house tonight. The play is called I Sold Out. That motorcycle right there is actually for sale. This is Aztec Tacos. You get 2 tacos for 2, and gas is $4.39, which is pretty high. Sanko. It looks like a pretty good one. I don't know what type it is, though. It's whatever this brand is. And the guy inside's like, "You like it?" It's a smaller one, but I like it. This little segment, hello R2. This little segment's brought to you by Coke Zero. Tastes almost exactly like Coke. So one thing that you can think about exactly in Escape from Maine is there's 3 segments that are very distinct. There's me showing up at the cabin at Parkman where I was studying T.S. Eliot and poetry and reading like Kurt Vonnegut and trying to write like a sci-fi novel, very poetic, kind of crazy, also publishing poetry. So I was sending poetry up through an internet service that I'm calling Blue Moose. I don't know the real name of it. Look it up. But it was like a satellite thing. That's how you got internet. And I watched The Shining, and I wrote poetry, and I listened to T.S. Eliot. I didn't listen to him. I listened to him. I read. And I would pay attention to nature, listen to birds, and go out and watch the snowfall. I had to leave after that winter because it was $900 a month to run the oil bill, which was funded to me by the state of Maine because they didn't want me to freeze to death, which I almost did at one time. Because I woke up and the drink next to me was frozen. It was like a glass bottle. It was like frozen. And I was like, man, I'm pretty cold. So I tried to get a hold of my mom. My mom lives in the next county, in another county. And I called her, but the phone wasn't really working. But nevertheless, they said to be patient, and the guy showed up and he put the oil, where the thing goes, and I could turn the oil thing on. Because the oven broke, so I turned the oven on to try to get heat. Also had this little space heater that I got it with a blanket. So I was like freezing at one point. And that was like the poetry section. That was all done in a cabin. Pretty much like a cabin in Parkman. It was like a makeshift house kind of looking cabin, kind of looking thing. It had a little basement. Okay, then I moved to Guilford, which was like the second floor above a furniture store and above a pie pantry called Aunt Dee Dee's. And that's where I started Escape from Maine and started working at a wood mill that was called Hardwood. In the story, it's called Havenwood. So I started meeting characters at the wood mill. I had a weird neighbor that liked my cats. I had a couple of cats. And I even had a washer and dryer. But I had my whole place looked kind of like a restaurant. There was not like tables and stuff. It was just like kind of big, and there was like a long counter. It looked like it could have been like a restaurant, but it was second floor. So I could look down at the main street. There was a pizza shop. I think it's like CC's Pizza or something. There was like a pizzeria, and I would walk. Very rarely, but I'd walk to work sometimes. But I was jogging a lot through all this and smoking. I was smoking American Spirits. Well, actually, that's not true. I was only smoking in the cabin. When I moved to the apartment in Guilford, I had quit smoking. That's where I met Chris, who lived next door to me, which was where Bert Shavitz opened his business. It was a schoolhouse where Bert Shavitz opened Bert B's. Anyway, I get to Guilford, and I start working in this wood mill. I'm not smoking at that point, but I'm still kind of jogging around, trying to find a place to jog, like places to jog and stuff. It's a real pet cemetery. So anyway, I finally start working in this Maine, and all these like hot ladies, like especially like farmer wives and stuff, like all working. They had these big wedding rings, but they like worked, you could see their hands moving, like getting the wood and stuff, because they had to inspect the wood, make sure that it wasn't rotten. It was a very hard process. It's hard to even write about. It's on a factory belt, a conveyor belt. You sit on these like almost like bar stools kinds of things. And it's so loud you can't even hear yourself think. And there was these neighbors that I had. One guy was named Nick, and he had a wife that was very unique. They were about to have a baby, or they did have a baby, and I sent them a Christmas card, and then he let me have his couch, and they helped me move the couch up to my second floor. My stepdad helped. My stepdad was a football coach kind of guy. That went on for a while, and then finally I moved to Dover. Okay, so that was the second segment. What was that? That was like getting to know work and stuff like that, starting the novel, and work was a big thing at that time. I did still have like cable. I had a different cable service. Each time I moved, I had a different cable service. It's a true story. First time was like Blue Moose, whatever it's called. The second time was a weird basic not cable, but it was basic internet thing that you could get at that time. The third place I moved was Dover, Foxcroft, Maine. Just write down another zip code. The only thing about it is every time you move from one zone or from one area, one parish, you have to change your registration on your car, even when you go down to the next zip code. It was weird. So I moved to this town. I had to change my, I spent like $700 on just changing my registration. Then finally I moved to, I was in Dover, right next to the Center Theater. That's when I got involved in the Center Theater. There's a whole side story where I was doing stuff at a thing called the Wayside Theater, which I call the Lakeside Theater. So I changed the names of things and stuff like that because I wanted to. And then I did some work there, and they were going to do a play called Ghost of a Chance. There was all this like snot coming down my nose because it was so cold during rehearsals. It was freezing. I had to wear all this like all this, wintry clothes, which I probably overdressed. It was cold though at times. We were like in the cold season when I was doing this play. Well, we couldn't pull the play off because we couldn't get all the cast to show up. But we did do this weird play that this lady wrote that was like suffering from slight dementia. She was old. She had written a book called Rosemary for Remembrance, and it was published at the library. You could get it at the library. She let me borrow it and read it for a while. She told me I could learn all my writing just by talking to other people. She knew I was a writer. Anyway, her name was June, and her last name was Woodson. And she was a writer. She had done research in New York and all kinds of stuff. So I left that theater off the Wayside. Now I got cast at the Center Theater in a Christmas show called, I played Halloran. This is a true story. In Miracle on 34th Street. That was the Dover Foxcroft section when I started acting. And I studied with a mime. There was a mime there called Ucho. He's from Brazil. He had gone up there and was doing mime. This other guy had hung out with Jack Nicholson. Playing basketball. There's a weird, like all these people. They all went ice fishing and they would eat chocolate. They're all Mainers, yeah. You don't want to go down there. No, don't go down there. Down there's a pet cemetery. And it was, I went to the lake one time. There was a lake called Kenny Bunk. Oh man, they have weird names. It starts with Kenny or something like that. Kenny something lake. But it was really cold at the bottom. You'd go swimming. The name of the lake. Oh, there's another weird name of another lake, too. They're all like Indian names. Like the Micmac Indian kind of stuff, real pet cemetery. There was another lake over on the other side of Parkman. And it was Wasakiag is my stab. That's my stab at it. Wasakiag Lake. And it was like a weird looking lake. But anyway, there was all these lakes and stuff, and then I joined up with this Pentecostal church. I dropped the Wayside Theater and I went over to the Center Theater and we did the Christmas play. And I met this Pentecostal gentleman who talked to me about Jesus, and he knew I was getting born again and I was going to be saved, and I was working on salvation. And he had all these things to say about his tattoo. He had this tattoo right here on his arm that he wanted to have removed because he was once a kind of a Slayer listening to. He listened to Slayer and like Metallica and was like a rebel. He decided to give that life up and stop doing shrooms. He was a shroom taker, and he turned his life over to Jesus Christ and was baptized in the Pentecostal church. And I was going to be baptized in the Pentecostal church at that time. There was a lady there that kind of saw me for a second, and her name was Jasmine. And Jasmine, I saw her, I thought she was a very, kind of classy lady, and she was there at church. And I looked over at her, and then I noticed she had some children. I said, "Oh." She goes, "Yeah, those are mine." And she pointed. She's pointing to her kids. Those are mine. They're God's.